Polypute Wicks here, coming to you once again after a very long break with chapter 1133 of One Piece entitled Praise. So, first things first, Oda is in his bag. Oda is back, baby. The chapter is immaculate. Elbath is immaculate. It looks like Berserk. It really does. The penmanship is on point. The feeling of fantasy and adventure are on point. Elbath, unlike Fishman Island, honestly, lives up to every promise that was said about it. It truly is a mystical and wonderful land. I also love getting a bit to the chase here that in return for Robin cutting her hair in the way that it looked when she was a child and a bit how it looked in the pre-time skip to greet Saul, Saul in return is in the same position as he was when Robin first found him back when she was an 8-year-old child. It is crazy how the parallels are going. It's very sweet. It's very good. I also like how the fake out presented in chapter 1131 has just led to Saul being ceremonious or sentimental for the occasion. I love that. I love that fake out has turned into something wholesome and good. But man, I'm taken aback. I honestly am. These things are great. They're simply fantastic. Also, Saul is sporting a peg leg, much like the supposed or highly theorized main antagonist of this arc, Shiki, who has 2 sword peg legs. So that's something. Also, shout out to a bunch of people, I think including me. I can't remember if I said this in a podcast episode or not, but the thought was, I believe, back when the Vegapunk broadcast was going on, that he got out. Even before that, I think, when Shaka was talking about Saul way back in Egghead, I think a lot of people, myself included, I can't remember, came to the conclusion that Saul broke out of the ice due to the explosions melting the ice. And that is what happened, because he found himself drowning in the ocean when he came to, as the explosions had melted the ice. So that's interesting. So kudos to everybody. Kudos to everybody. I also love how the crying scene is so detailed, because we rarely get to see Robin emote. This is the best emotion panel for her in the entire manga. My goodness. Oh, it feels so good. It feels as though her character has come full circle. Back to the start, everything is healed. Everything is wonderful. Also, on that point, boo to anyone who ever says there's no character development in One Piece, because it says a lot about Luffy that he would turn down food and turn down a banquet to actually meet the person who took care of his crewmate all those years ago. And he says this to Robin, and Robin is tickled pink about it. I love that. I simply love it. Boo to anyone who says Luffy doesn't develop. No. Time skip Luffy is a considerate and thoughtful individual. I like it, because we see this too in Egghead when he was scared that he broke something of Shaka's and Shaka reassured him. So that just shows you, like, no, his character has grown. He's grown into a responsible young man. And I love that for him. That's very great. Also, I'm noticing something very interesting developing between Robin and Bonnie. Robin has been doting over Bonnie, I think, since the arc has started, which is super interesting. I wonder if that's going to turn into anything, because I'm still 10 toes down for Bonnie being the 10th member of the Straw Hat crew. I also like how Nami gives Robin a compliment on her haircut. Very sisterly, very good. A lot of motherly and sisterly energy going on. I like it a lot. I love these character interactions, bro. That's what we were missing in Egghead, because it felt like we only got a little bit of character interaction, like at the start when the Seraphim attacked. but now we're getting it in spades. It's overflowing. That's how I know we're in for an amazing arc, an immaculate arc, because it's a painting every panel. These buildings are great. The whole makeup of Elbaf is great, as pointed out by Lilith. And I'm glad we have Lilith here to fill us in on some of these things, because she mentioned something called Saboa bubbles, which I'm not sure what that is exactly, because it sounds like she's talking about the bubbles from Saboti Archipelago, though I don't see any of those. I don't know what is that in reference to. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to wait for the official on that, because I'm not sure what that means. But what's also very cool is that they have flying ships in Elbaf, because the ship that Luffy, Gerd, Goldberg, and the pervert known as Road are on is flying using the island clouds on its oars. And it's called a Savaro? A Skivaro? I don't know the name. I cannot pronounce the name. But maybe there'll be a author's note in the official and we'll get more clarification on what this is or what have you, as I do not know. But it's very cool. It's very neat that they have flying ships in Elbaf. But based on what Lilith is saying, I guess you can only have that in Elbaf, because as you know, sea and island clouds can't exist everywhere. So yeah, it's very cool how all this stuff is just naturally occurring on Elbaf, including the rainbows and the hover abilities of these ships. It's immaculate. It's simply immaculate. It is fantasy. It is adventure. Oh, I'm gushing. I'm gushing so much. It's great. It's simply great. And it shows you how big everything is, because Goldberg is holding the entirety of the Thousand Sunny in his hands while he's on this flying ship, which is crazy to me. But it really does highlight how toy-like the Sunny is, but it also highlights how big a regular giant is. So that lets you know ancient giants are immense in comparison, because this really does put a lot of stuff into scale. And I'm very happy that Oda is keeping his scale pretty consistent in this arc. But yeah, this is great. Every drawing is fantastic, brother. I am in love, simply in love. And I'm glad now Luffy now has realized that, yes, all these guys are part of the new Giant Warrior Pirates, including the pervert, who is not included in the makeup of the new Giant Warrior Pirates, as he's crucified in the back. Good. He's terrible. I'm glad he's in pain. I'm happy. Good. Terrible, man. Terrible. But yeah. And Luffy recognizes Howard, and that's great. So yeah, everybody is on the same page now. But it's also cool, too, that they know about the defeat of Big Mom. And Usopp didn't know this, because I guess Usopp wasn't around for all those events. He wasn't around for Whole Cake, and he was in the same vicinity, but wasn't there to witness the fight between Big Mom, Law, and Kid. So of course he wouldn't know about it. So yeah, they know about the defeat of Big Mom and Wano. And that's when Gerd brings up that they were friends once, but then she did something unforgivable, which most likely was the cannibalism. The terrible, terrible cannibalism that occurred where she ate everybody at the Lamb House, which is crazy. Big Mom on top, because no matter how monstrous you try to paint Kaido, he never ate people. And this is the first time someone has committed cannibalism to get a Devil Fruit power in the series. Just that thought alone is crazy, because no one else has done anything that extreme. But yet, no, that certainly is possible because it happened. That's insane. But yeah, I'm glad that all these little points are being touched on, because I've been talking about Gerd being in the Big Mom flashback for a while now. So I'm glad that's actually brought up again. And I have to say that the ale house, the big bar, the big banquet hall is great. There are 2 mugs toasting on the sign of the door. This is great. There's a bear in the scene. I don't know what he's about, but that's cool. This is a cool scene. Also, just to point out, Goldberg's shield is still asleep. Just saying. I want to know what's up with that shield because it's still sleeping here. You can see in the back shot of him. And yeah, I wonder if Haruden and Stanson have any animal buddies. We have to see. Maybe when the arc starts to get serious. But I'm glad the Big Mom thing was brought up. So I'm wondering, is Kid going to be a part of this arc? Because I know a lot of people on my Discord, the Digital Burrow, and in other places keep talking about Kid. So maybe it will be Kid who will be trained by Shiki. I don't know, because I know a while ago, I don't think I ever brought this up on the channel, but I always equated Law to kind of being like the new age Whitebeard. And I know I made a video like a while ago stating how it's very interesting how Law's and Whitebeard's supposed awakening are very similar as they use their weapons in their awakening. If you don't know, Whitebeard has like this weird wavy quake bubble that he uses on his Naginata, and it's the only attack that looks different from the others, and in which he uses his Bicento or Naginata. I'm not sure which one it is, but when he uses that, it's the only attack in which he's using his Dofru in combination with his weapon, and it's wavy. It doesn't look like a perfect sphere like the rest of them do. So that's why I think his awakening probably is to just channel his vibrations through an object and make them appear at a point, which is not much different from Law's awakening, which is just displacing the room or giving objects the properties of a room, because he does two things with his awakening. He does a remote room in which he just throws the sphere like a key blast and it expands around a target, or he does the K room and that's transferred into the sword that he has, and the sword extends out. So the awakening maneuver, or the supposed awakening maneuver that Whitebeard does, is very similar to that. I did a whole video about that. I'll pin it somewhere here. Go check that out. But the point is that I'm wondering, seeing as how they have very similar powers and they're being kind of force related, Kid and Shiki are kind of similar because their powers are somewhat adjacent as they kind of revolve around levitation in a way, as Kid has made constructs that do levitate via the use of his magnetism, and Shiki, using Strong World as a guide, the film, all he does is levitate objects and landscapes and use them to his advantage to fight with. So in a way, they kind of do mix and match, sort of. So I can't wait to see if this goes anywhere. Also, Kid's wearing goggles, kind of like how an aviator does, and Shiki flies, and Shiki is known for having a big steering wheel lodged in his head, which is probably why he's wearing the Casa hat, because he's embarrassed by it. But anyway. So, yes, Robin meets Saul, and Saul, it's funny that she meets him on an area that looks like a beach, and I'm willing to bet this was just created to be a beach to replicate that scene from when they met when she was a child. Because there's no other reason for it. But I do like that we actually see the outside of his library for the first time. And it is cool that he's a history professor. So that's cool too. That's very cool. And I like the look of the Owl Library where he resides. That's great. And it's nice that he's bringing education to Elbaf. Because remember, he called the people of Elbaf savages once upon a time. So I don't know what that's about, dog. But that's very interesting that he went into educating the same people that he called savages. I find that interesting. So I'm glad he got over his, I don't know what you would call it, his bias, I guess. I still want to know the genealogy of giants. Like, where do they all come from, seeing as how there seems to be a theme of them being spread out? Because you have the ancient giants, you have these weird civilian giants because it's him, and then the other giants in the Marines are a part of the giant squadron. Want to know what that woman's name is, by the way? The woman who looks like Gerd. We've only seen her in shots, but I want to know if she has a name or if she's related to Gerd, because they're the only female giants that we had a good look at, and they're both blonde. So I wonder if they're sisters. Don't know. I'm willing to bet if they are, she's probably the younger sister, because we know Gerd already. And I guess giants are like in their teens or a young adulthood around the 60 mark. So if, say, the female giant on the giant squadron is 40, that makes sense. So she's probably like 18, 16 in giant years. Believable. So I could see why she would be a part of the Marines. That's not too ridiculous to comprehend. I can see that. But yeah, so they're coming in on this cool cloud ship. And that's when the reunion starts. And I'm glad that, yeah, Saul knows everything about the broadcast because we see him during the broadcast. So, of course, he would know everything. So it's really cool that we've just come full circle with everything here. I'm glad he does compliment her about being very reminiscent of her mother. That's cool. I wonder, are there going to be any D initial lore going around here? Because now it's interesting that technically Robin has been affiliated with 3 different Ds, or 4 technically, because you have Clover D. Claymore, Jaguar D. Saul, Monkey D. Luffy, and I guess kinda Monkey D. Dragon. So that's interesting that she's affiliated with so many members of the D family at this point. It was crazy to find out that Clover was a D. That was wild. But yeah, I wonder if we're going to get any D lore. That's why I kind of hope that Law is also coming to Elbaf, so he can be informed of the D lore as well, seeing as how he is a D. Another interesting thing, and we'll probably talk about this in another video, but I just want to put it out there just so I don't forget. I'm willing to bet if there was another D family that needed to be talked about, I'm willing to bet is the Eustace family. Because I cannot imagine someone gave Kid all that play back in Sabaody Archipelago just for Law to steal it all. To steal all his story momentum. I can't believe it. He has to be Eustace D. Kid. It has to happen. Because it was so crazy that he comes in, he's introduced in Sabaody Archipelago with a bounty higher than Luffy's, with a subordinate who's also considered a supernova. And he and Luffy are the only ones with subordinates who are also supernova. And he's given all this play, only for all that to be rendered pointless by the time the time skip comes around and by the time we get into the Yonko saga proper, because Law starts it off and it's Law City from there in Punk Hazard all the way down into Wano, because he dominates most of Wano as well. Kid doesn't get a lot in Wano until we're actually in the thick of the climax in Onigashima. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, 22 years in the making, both in the manga and in real time. Ha! Yeah, 22 years is right, bruh. And Robin has reunited with her surrogate father, Jaguar D. Saul. What a touching reunion. I'm glad that most of the Straw Hats have broken down into tears. But of course, Zoro has to be the cool guy. Jinbei shouldn't be the cool guy, actually. He shouldn't be, because aren't you supposed to be the father in this outfit? Shouldn't you be happy for your supposed wife? That's why he's not the father. I know, more Jinbei slander, typical Polly P Works video, but still, Frankie breaking down makes sense, because that's the reaction you should have to your wife meeting her long-lost father. That's cool. Jinbei is just another day in Jinbei not having a character. I'm sorry, because if you're not going to react to yourself being cloned and turned into an abomination and using your fighting style to further oppress your people as this clone is a weapon of the world government. If you're not going to react to that, you're not going to react to anything, brother. That's just how it is. Because the S-Shark situation, he's the only one So far, out of all the warlords in the narrative, and according to the timeline of the narrative now, he's the only one who is a warlord who has seen one of these things face to face and he didn't react. That will never not be weird. I'll never get over that. But yeah, I'm glad everyone is as tearful as Robin as she meets Saul. This is great. This is great. But yeah, immaculate chapter, simply immaculate. And I almost forgot about the cover story. We are in volume 20. I need to check on this. How long has the longest cover story been? Because we are getting long in the tooth with this Yamato stuff. It is going nowhere, brother. I don't know. I'm not sure. But maybe this is building to something because we see Hold'em has captured Tama. Yes, Hold'em, the guy with the lion in his pelvis, and has burned Speed down. Now she is a horse stake. She's not dead, but she is severely injured because for some reason, yes, Hold'em can breathe fire out of his weird lion torso crouch thing. What's also funny about Hold'em is that we're kind of going back to square one because I remember he captured her way back in Wano. So yeah, but now he is one of the few beast pirates that are super susceptible to her abilities because he has two mouths. So he can be doubly entranced by her dongos if he is fed two of them at the same time or what have you. I wonder too if like the main body of Hold'em eats a dongo, will the lion be entranced as well? Or do you have to feed two of them to him? Because if one is entranced, one may not be, because they're both like two independent entities. So I'm not sure if you affect one, whether that will affect the other. Which it'll be funny, because if you feed the lion one, and then the lion is just operating his body, that'd be funny. And he's doing things against his will all the time. Hilarious. And it'd be funny if the lion then becomes smitten with Tama and sees her as a master, whereas the main body of Hold'em does not, but he can't do anything about it. Very, very funny. So there are a lot of opportunities for comedy here. Either he gets fully entranced or partly entranced. Either way, comedy will certainly come up. Maybe they will start off as foes, and out of this, she'll get a weird lion father. I don't know. And then for Celia, I forgot her real name now, but Speed, maybe she'll get a weird lion husband out of this. I am not sure. But Yamato is on the case. And I'm sure by the end of this, Hold'em will be beaten down and subdued in some way. Can't wait to see it. But yeah, we are on break. We are going to be on break next week. And that's all I have for you today. Give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede. What's it?